It's a wonderful Friday, May 9th, 2025. And today, I think it needs no introduction. You saw the title, Top 10 Quarterbacks. The most controversial list we've done here so far. The most controversial topic we've approached so far here on this channel. Welcome to Armchair Analysis. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. Hope you guys have had a great work week. Hope you guys are excited for today's video. I think we got a lot of really good things to get to here today, whether it's a new college football commission, whether it could be Notre Dame and Clemson's 12-year rivalry, a channel update that's coming here today, and then of course the top 10 quarterbacks entering 2025. Yes, this is my opinion, and yes, I think it's going to certainly ruffle some feathers, and it's all personal preference. This is my preference going into the season. Much like the previous videos, it's what have you done? It's a little bit of projection. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to go. If I was going to go straight off of numbers and grades and stuff like that, some of these guys straightforward wouldn't be here. But there would be guys on this list that everybody would disagree with as well. So nobody's going to find this perfect. But I think there's going to be some names on here that you really do want to pay attention to as we enter 2025. With that said, I'm not starting there. We're going to start this video and start this episode today with a Notre Dame and Clemson announcement that happened just a couple days ago. They're going to play a 12-game home-and-home series starting in 2027 against each other. Notre Dame and Clemson have kind of built this little rivalry, especially within the ACC. This is a bit of a play to kind of say, hey, look, this is a legitimate game year in, year out, especially with the projection both programs have right now. This is a game year in, year out that we should be talking about when it comes to college football playoff, and a game that would shape a college football playoff scenario or a run even. I like the announcement here. I love that this is kind of getting done because both these teams are kind of on the rise right now, and Clemson certainly, we talk about on the rise as if they ever went anywhere, but they haven't been truly in the national championship picture for 3 or 4 years. And this year seems to be the first year in that amount of time that we're going to sit back and say, preseason, this might be a national championship capable team. Notre Dame is in the very same boat. They are experienced. Their lack of experience is CJ Carr, who I think is going to be a really good player this year. But everything else sets up in a way for the Irish that they could make a run and repeat in a national championship appearance similar to what they just did last year. And it's all going to kind of come to a head again. 12 years straight of these two teams facing off on one another's home fields. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's great for college football. It's a really big boost to the non-SEC Big Ten teams and matchups. Say, hey, look, we're still here, we're still competing, and we are still worthy of participating on the same level as you guys. We've heard all the rumors. We've heard everybody talk about the Big Ten and SEC kind of trying to break away, do their own thing. A matchup like this yearly takes away some of that conversation. At least, and at a minimum, it kind of nullifies the conversation. Not fully, but to an extent. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm excited for this 12-year series, even though I don't particularly, growing up, I will be honest, I did not like either one of these two teams. I'm in a spot now where I want to sit back and talk college football. So, my my Saturday fandoms don't really affect the videos here. I love both of these teams in 2025. Love them. Absolutely love what I see here. I mean, these are two teams that could potentially be in the semifinals. And it's not far-fetched to say it. Clemson brings in Tom Allen to be their new defensive coordinator, which is amazing because it's a lights-out defense on paper. Got to be proven offensively. Cade Klubnik gets another year with offensive coordinator Garrett Riley, and they bring back wide receivers who seemingly have a pulse Clemson's offense is going to be fun. Notre Dame's going to be a lot of fun. 2025 is going to be fun. But even beyond, these two programs are set up for some success, and it's exciting. It's really, really exciting for college football to see a big matchup like this, and such a deal. 12 home and homes. The other part of this is people are going to sit back and say, well, doesn't Notre Dame and the ACC already have their deal? Well, yeah, they do, but we don't know how long that's going to last. We don't know if Notre Dame's going to be able to stay out of a conference for 12 years. And at this rate, 14 years, because this will end in 2039. We don't know that 12 years from now, we're not talking about Notre Dame in the Big Ten. We don't know that 12 years from now, we're not talking about Notre Dame in the ACC. Getting this out of the way early solidifies a bit of a rivalry here. And I think it's just, again, I love it. I love it for college football. A really big deal. I want to talk about the other news that dropped earlier this week. And look, I know by mentioning this, I really didn't want to bring this up today. But I know by mentioning this, I'm going to get some who tune in and see this and find it a space and find an appropriate time for a political comment. I don't care about the politics of the whole thing. I don't care who did it, what's going on. I want to talk about what this means for college football. But it was announced that Donald Trump had initially planned for like an executive order. Again, I'm going to show that I don't know enough about politics. I really don't want to get into it. But there was talks of an executive order being put in place for him to put together a group to go in and fix college sports, or his group to go fix college sports, which is supposedly to be led by Nick Saban and Texas Tech Board of Regents Chairman Cody Campbell. I don't even... I'm sorry. I know this is kind of coming off as maybe even unprofessional or unprepared. It's not about my political viewpoints personally. It's more so about my viewpoint on college football as a whole. I made a video a few weeks ago. Everything wrong. You know, the biggest threat to college sports being NIL, being the transfer portal. And that's what supposedly this is supposed to do, is go in and take a look at those things, take a look at how they can better manage college sports as a business. Do I think this is necessary for an executive order, if I'm being honest? No. Do I think this is necessary for the President of the United States to jump into? No. Honestly, the NCAA should probably be taking care of this themselves. You would expect they would be. However, why else are we hearing these rumors of the SEC and Big Ten doing their own thing? It's simply because of the NCAA not doing their job and not holding everybody accountable to the same standard. It's been an ongoing problem, and it's only been more and more, I guess, exacerbated by the fact of NIL, by the fact of the transfer portal, by these things that are so minimally regulated that outside people feel the need that they need to jump in and take control of it. What I will say is that I find it interesting, the picks. I think that Nick Saban, if there's somebody who knows about college football, sure. But Nick Saban knows how to coach and put a team together. I don't know that he's... Look, I'm not trying to talk bad about Alabama's favorite human being right now, but I don't know that he's particularly the guy that's set up to manage something on such a large scale with, and more specifically, somebody who was so adamantly, I don't want to say against, but didn't really love the idea. I mean, there's a reason he retired so quickly. Didn't love the idea of NIL, didn't love the idea of the transfer portal. Are we going to bring these guys in to revert back prior? Because I don't think it's going to work like that. It's a very fine line, honestly, that you need a tightrope here on how you want to address this and how you want to take care of it. I have ideas. If anybody ever wanted one day to elect me as a college football commissioner, maybe I'll talk about those down the line. But it will be interesting for me to sit back and watch, because I am 100% taking a wait and see approach. I'm taking it on this. I'm taking it on this this federal court case that's going on right now. Like, I'm taking a wait and see approach. I'm not projecting anything. I'm not projecting nothing. We're going to sit back and wait, because what do I get, especially as a non-insider, to try to project and predict things? I can clickbait you all I want. If I really wanted to, I could clickbait every single video I wanted to. I don't do that. I don't have an interest in doing that, because I want you guys to have the facts as they're presented as a fan, whether you are a casual fan or whether you are a diehard fan. I don't care. 365 days a year, spoiler alert for later, 365 days a year, I want you guys to have the best and the greatest content you can get here. So it does me no good from a personal feeling standpoint to sit here and say, man, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't think it is. I don't think it will be. Do I think it's going to be worse? Time will tell. Maybe. Depends on how it's handled and who's handling it. And I'm not saying that Nick Saban's going to be the one to completely drive college sports into the ground. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I don't know who the right choice would be right now. Who has the ability to go in and say, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what needs to happen. And this is how we're going to do it. Do we set a regulation for every single school? A set fine line for every single school? And whether you can make that number or not is on you. But we set a number at $10 million in NIL. That's your number every single year. You either get the $10 million or you don't. But if you go over, you're penalized in scholarships. Maybe that's my idea. Maybe it's not. Is it in the transfer portal? You get one. And then after that, every subsequent transfer after that, you sit out 3 games in your first year back. So, for example, we'll use Cam Ward for an example, because he's out of the NFL. He's not transferring again. He went from Incarnate Word to Washington State. That first transfer, free. No, you don't sit out for any games. He went to Miami. That's 3 games. You missed the first 3 of the season. You transfer again, you miss the first 6. I mean, look. Do you want to regulate it or not? I don't think sitting out a full year is worth that. I think that's a little ridiculous. But maybe there is a fine line in the middle. Maybe there is something we can do to kind of... because coaches can do this. Coaches can go wherever they want, whenever they want. And I don't think that's really fair. But I especially to regulate college players, the players to do and sit there and wait. I think there should be exceptions to the rule. Coaches leaving, stuff like that. Coaches aren't leaving to an extent where every single player is going to get that opportunity to get a second free transfer. But it will happen sometimes. There's just a lot of different things and ways that we could approach this as a collective in terms of how you could fix college sports. Maybe that'll come up next week in a video. I don't know yet. We'll see where we're at. We got a bunch of top 10 lists to get through. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like this idea? Again, I don't want your political opinions. I mean, if you want to put them there, that's fine. I'm not going to respond to them in any other way than just curiosity of thought process. But I am curious how you guys think that Nick Saban and Cody Campbell, again, Texas Tech University Board of Regents Chairman Cody Campbell, can maybe take the approach here, and what you would like to see as a college football fan to regulate NIL, transfer portal, everything that's kind of plaguing the world of college athletics at this time. So now for what you probably clicked on this video for, and, well, you know, it does happen. The top 10 quarterbacks entering 2025. Understand that this is not fully a prediction. A lot of this is based off of previous stats and previous years and who's been consistent, who's improved, and who's projecting to be that guy in 2025. And I put together a list of, I think 17, if I'm not mistaken, when I was looking earlier. Yeah, 17 players that I had to cut down to 10. Some of your guys are going to be left off of here. Understand that I went through and I looked at stats. I looked at who they play for and what they've done with what they have. And I think I've put together a, at minimum, respectable list. Now, not everybody's going to agree. Somebody's going to come in here and talk their stuff, and that's fine. I welcome it. That comment section is there for a reason. It will never be off on this channel. You can go in that comment section and MF me to high hell for all I care. That's fine. I'm putting my opinion out here to be criticized, to be supported, to maybe give you an idea on somebody. I'm not going to condone betting on players, but if you're going to sit back and look at a name and hear me say, you know what, I really like this guy, maybe I'm putting a little of my own money on him, and you want to take that and do your own thing, again, I'm not telling you to, but if that's your call, then go ahead and do it. This top 10 list I really like. I think I put it together really well, and yeah, I can say that because it's mine, but I also say that because I believe it. I think that there's a lot of guys here that I really, really like, and I'm excited to see how they progress and how they move forward into this year. And when I come back and look at this at the end of the season and say, was I right or was I not? This list is going to be the tell-all. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to be gone. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go from 10 down to 1 because I think number 1 is more intriguing than number 10. But number 10 is going to surprise some people. I have Josh Hoover of TCU at number 10. Look, Josh Hoover has been effective in commanding the Horned Frogs offense last season. In his times, especially when healthy, he has been he's, spoiler alert, my number 2 quarterback in the Big 12 right now. Does that mean that he has been the best statistically? No. But the potential has been shown. There's been moments of him where I think that he has the potential to go out and be a guy that leads TCU to a conference championship or maybe another playoff berth. I really like what they are putting together in Fort Worth. Do I think they are a playoff team? To be determined. I haven't gotten to my predictions yet, so don't ask me if I think that's the case. Understand, I'm looking at these guys from a talent perspective and themselves only. I don't care about the team around them. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about the quarterback himself. Josh Hoover, number 10 for me. Number 9, I got Kevin Jennings of SMU. I did not like the move last year that we saw from Rhett Lashley moving on from Preston Stone to Kevin Jennings and then going back and forth for the first 3 games. And then finally settling on Kevin Jennings. I was highly critical of it. This move worked out for the Mustangs. They were ACC championship contenders last year. They were in the championship game here, well, not here, but in the state of North Carolina, just down the road from me. Kevin Jennings is this fantastic mixture of speed, but a really good passer. And with the right weapons around them, SMU can do exactly what they did last year, again here in 2025. I predicted them to be a really good team in the conference. What I didn't predict was them to do it with Kevin Jennings. He proved a lot to me, impressed me a lot. It would almost be criminal to not have Kevin Jennings on this list. At number 8, this is going to be controversial because there's going to be people who believe that he's already a top 5 player. This is going to be controversial because there's going to be people who believe that he does not belong in the top 10. I battled really, really hard on whether or not I should include Arch Manning on this list. I chose that the upside that we saw from him last year, especially in that start against Mississippi State, and yes, I'm aware, Mississippi State. I know what team I just said, but that start was still impressive. You still have to have the intangibles. the ability to do what you're doing. He's one of a few players that he is the highest graded player outright, according to PFF, who did not reach minimum snap counts at quarterback. But with that, he's still a top 10 player without reaching minimum. Now, had he played more games or a full season, would he have been a top 10 quarterback last year? I don't rightly know the answer to that question. I'm not going to act like I know, because we saw some moments even in garbage time where I didn't think he was necessarily great, whether or not that was him testing some things out or trying some different stuff or just trying to be more aggressive because, hey, we're up by 30 and we don't really, who cares? That's the time to make mistakes. I don't know. I'm either going to get bit by it or I'm going to have lowballed. I don't think he's the 8th best quarterback in the country. I personally believe that at the end of the year, we're going to look at this and say, why didn't I just put him top 5? Well, because I'm not an overreaction person. You know, I'm not the person who's going to sit here and say, yeah, Arch Manning's already a top 5 player. Because we don't know that. He's only had 2 games, and his grades throughout the rest of the season, his numbers throughout the rest of the season, were not overly impressive. But what he did do, and the things that he did do in those 2 starts, and then throughout the year being utilized a little more, the playoffs hit and his usage went down, but Quinn Ewers was back and fully healthy. I'm going to project that he has that kind of season in 2025. Again, putting him at number 8. I think that's a fair place to land. At number 7, I have John Mateer, who just so happens to be one of my favorite quarterbacks in college football this year. This is not so much of a projection as much as it is what we saw last year, what's moving over, and the talent level increase that he's going to jump into at Oklahoma. It's not going to be particularly easy, but it's going to be a lot of fun because there's a continuity between coordinator and quarterback. I had to go check it out. I paused. There's a little cut in the video. I paused for a second. I wanted to go make sure I got the name right. Ben Arbuckle, which was what I was going to say. I should have just said it and then tried to correct myself so I don't look like too much of an idiot. But Ben Arbuckle comes from Washington State to Oklahoma with John Mateer. You also add in Jaden Ott as running back. The offensive line, questionable, but I think they're improved. And in the wide receiver room, even losing Nick Anderson, you still have a lot of guys that I think are really, really big weapons, especially in this Arbuckle offense. Oklahoma is a sneaky team in the SEC right now. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of open their eyes to what this team is offensively. I think we can all agree what we expect and think from a Brent Venables coach team on defense. If that offense improves and they take care of this turnover issue that they've had over the last couple of years, Oklahoma is a legitimate contender in the, I don't know about SEC, but I think they're a back-end playoff team with certainty, competing maybe for one of those home playoff games. So again, John Mateer at 7. At number 6, look, UGA fans are going to say I'm overrating them. Miami fans are going to say I'm underrating them. I think Carson Beck at number 6 is kind of on the spot because what we've seen is we've seen a lot of good from Carson Beck over the course of his career. What we've also seen, especially towards the end of last year, was turnover prone. We've seen a lot of really unforced errors from Carson Beck, and I don't know whether it was an overconfidence in the team that he was surrounded by, because, I mean, let's not act like he wasn't on probably one of the most talented rosters over the last couple of years. He's probably still on a top 5 team talent-wise in 23, 24, 25, or 23 and 24. Going into 25, I think he's still on a talented team. Maybe not quite as good as Miami was last year, but the potential's there. I'm going to keep Carson Beck at 6. I think that this is going to be probably right in the range for Carson Beck, if we're being honest. At number 5, this might be a bit of a shocker, but I'm going with Sam Leavitt of Arizona State. Sam Leavitt was the highest average grade between rushing and passing on multiple forums that I looked at. On top of that, he was just really, really good. I mean, the eye test also shows you a lot. And when people worried that Cam Scadaboo leaving, oh, well, Arizona State going right back to the bottom, slow down. This team's not going anywhere. I think that Kenny Dillingham has his quarterback, knows exactly what he's going to get from Sam Leavitt. And honestly, this couldn't be a better first guy to walk in and say, hey, look, I know I'm not the most loved move right now, but we're going to make it work. And certainly they have. This Arizona State team is still dangerous in 2025, can still be a playoff team. And I think it's going to be in large part due to that kid, Sam Leavitt. Again, coming in at number 5 on this top 10 quarterback list. At number 4, I went with Lenore Sellers. I think that we can all agree that there is probably not a more athletic quarterback in college football right now than Lenore Sellers. There certainly may not be a stronger quarterback, especially with Jalen Milroe exiting stage left to the draft, than Lenore Sellers right now. We can talk all we want about anything we want within this Carolina team that we don't know a whole lot about going into 2025, especially offensively. I think there's a lot of things that breed uncertainty. The one thing that stays the same with certainty on this roster is Lenore Sellers and the wide receiver threats that he has on this team that I think are going to take a step forward. We already saw Nick Harbor take a big step forward last year. I think that's going to continue. I think he's finally finding his stride as a wide receiver. And if that's the case, with his speed on top of everybody else who's going to be returning, I'm expecting Larvidan to take a bigger role at wide receiver this year in 2025. This South Carolina team is dangerous for a playoff spot, maybe even a SEC championship bid. I don't know if I'm going to go as far on the ladder, but I certainly think Carolina has a chance to go and pursue a college football playoff bid, and it's in large part due to number 16 on the offense. Getting into my top 3, if you're enjoying the list so far, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know who I may have overlooked, who I may have missed out on. At the end, I'm going to do my honorable mentions, and I'll tell you guys everybody who I considered for a top 10 spot. At number 3, I'm going to take Drew Aller at Penn State, and I think that we can argue all we want about overall talent and who goes above who in this top 3. I think they are interchangeable in a lot of regards. I went based on what I see and what I expect, and on top of that, overall improvement year over year. I think Drew Aller might be the best arm talent quarterback in college football. But there are some other things that he doesn't do that I like from the two ahead of him. If the wide receiver room is improved this year, understand that the biggest issue they had was an inability to get the ball to wide receivers, for wide receivers to be productive in the offense. If that happens, I have a lot of faith that this team, this Penn State team, is a national championship contender. They are an early contender for my preseason number 1. I don't know if that's going to happen. We are a ways off of my top 25. But what I can tell you is that if there's one guy that I would trust in that Penn State offense going into this year with Andy Kotelnicki, year 2, it is number 15, Drew Aller. He is my number 3 quarterback in 2025. At number 2, I'm going to take Garrett Nussmeier. This is an experience play here, but it's also a talent play. Let's not act like Garrett Nussmeier doesn't deserve to be a top 5 quarterback and really doesn't deserve to be in the conversation of number 1. I think I would be more willing to hear an argument between swapping my 2 and 3, Nussmeier and Aller, over my number 1, who you'll hear in a minute. I like Garrett Nussmeier. I like the offense that they're putting together. If I'm not mistaken, and I just have to go back a couple days here to my transfer portal video and to confirm that it was Nick Anderson who left Oklahoma to go to LSU to add a bit of dynamic to the wide receiver room. I think that LSU is going to be a really good team. I think they're going to compete for a playoff spot, and I think they're going to be also competitive for an SEC title. The defense comes back, and they're much, much improved, I think, especially year 2 under Blake Baker. I like LSU right now a lot. I really like Garrett Nussmeier. That's why he got number 2. But it's as close as could be. I would almost say 2A, 2B between Nussmeier and Aller. My number 1 quarterback in 2025 is Cade Klubnik. Yes, I've been down this road before. A couple years ago, I predicted Cade Klubnik to break out and win the Heisman. His first year starting. What an idiot, right? Who in the hell would have expected that or predicted that in Brandon Streeter's offense? Sorry. That was me. That's my mistake. But what I can tell you is that I love the Garrett Riley move. I didn't project any real... I didn't project Klubnik to be a Heisman contender last year simply because of the inexperience and really what I saw was kind of a folding under pressure in that first year. And I blame a lot of that on coaching. There was a very big transition from year 1 to year 2. And the biggest thing that helped him the most over the course of last year was Garrett Riley. You have Garrett Riley year 2. You have a quarterback year 2 with an offensive coordinator. We don't see that very often at the top level anymore. I think this is going to be a really big year. Clemson brings back a lot of really heavy talent at wide receiver. I mentioned that earlier in this video, but they bring back talent at wide receiver. A lot of young guys with experience now. The running back room is supposed to be improved. And then again, we talked about it, Tom Allen on defense. This is a team that's not just an ACC contender, they're the ACC favorite, and they are a national championship favorite. They are in my top 3 right now of national championship favorites in 2025. I love the roster. I love what they're putting together down there. I'm not going to spoil later lists, but there's a lot of Clemson players on the top 10 lists going forward. Cade Klubnik is the first number 1 of that list. I don't know how many they'll have. I haven't got that far. But I'm really high on him. I think the Palmetto Bowl is going to be a absolute barn burner down in Columbia later this year. I'm hoping to be there. Honestly, I'm hoping to be there on Thanksgiving weekend because it could be game of the year times 10. Let me know what you think of that list. I'm going to talk to you guys about some guys that I left off the list. The first guy I left off the list, and I was going back and forth between Arch Manning and DJ Lagway. I love the talent. I love the raw talent that DJ Lagway has, and the ability, I think, of him to improve over this course of the offseason and get a full year starting under his belt will be crucial. Florida, absolutely boned by their schedule. I don't think we can say it any other way. If Lagway's half as good, honestly, I'm going to say if he's anywhere close to as good as we are projecting them to be, Florida might go out and take 9 or 10 games. If he's not, if we see the same inexperience, the same misses as we saw last year, Florida sits at 5-7 to 7-5 range. Again, I'm not predicting anything yet. I'm just saying that I like Lagway a lot. Another guy that I didn't particularly have in any order going beyond Lagway, Nico Iamaleava. I'm really caught off guard by the offseason situation. I don't personally love that the focus was not on the field. It seemed to be more about NIL than it was anything else for him this offseason. And then he's also going out to UCLA, and they weren't not very good last year. And I'm going to be honest with you, I like Ethan Garbers personally more than I do Iamaleava as of right now. And this is not personal. This is just who did I like more last year. I thought Ethan Garbers did more with less. Now, that's eye test. That's my eyeballs talking to me. we could walk out this year and see a totally different UCLA team, and it could be all because of presumed number 8. To be determined. He's still a top 15 quarterback. He's just not in my top 10. I had Rocco Becht in the conversation. I left him out, and I may come to regret that. I don't know. He had 2 really good wide receivers last year that I think helped out a lot. And then Abu Sama also captured a lot of attention, especially after what he was able to do late in 2023. Pushed into 2024, he was still pretty solid. We're going to kind of get a feeling for what Rocco Becht is made of here in 2025. And, they brought in some help as well. They captured themselves a little bit of help with Chase Sowell coming over from East Carolina. A really solid wide receiver. He's going to be, I'm going to project him as wide receiver 1 as of right now without looking at their roster at the moment. I like Becht a lot. This could be one where I may regret that Josh Hoover pick over Becht, but I'm not going to regret it by much. Avery Johnson. I have been a huge fan of Avery Johnson since he got to K-State, to be honest. I love the package that he brings to the Kansas State offense. It's the consistency for me. It's just when we go from one game to another, not sure what player we're going to get on the field, what version of number 2 we're going to get out there for K-State, it becomes a little problematic for me. And they lose a handful of weapons. Specifically, I think DJ Giddens going out is going to be a lot more harmful to them than we expect it to be. Doesn't mean they're going to be bad. I love Chris Kleiman as a coach. He was close to my top 10 coaches list that came out yesterday. So if you haven't seen that, slight spoiler alert, but go check that out. Avery Johnson, I would love to be wrong on. I really would. I had Eli Holstein in the conversation. I really loved what he was able to do last year. He proved a lot. The biggest thing for me this year is how does he bounce back from the injury? It's a tough one. Everybody comes back differently. So he's going to be a guy I have my eyes on. But if he's good, Pitt is going to be a pretty good team. I had Darian Mensah in the conversation, the former Tulane quarterback, now at Duke under Manny Diaz. I expect a lot more out of him than we got from Malik Murphy in 2024. Even with a little bit less, I think Duke is going to be still a really solid football team. I'm actually, honestly, I have a lot of excitement for Darian Mensah at Duke. The last guy I had in the conversation was Devin Dampier, and that was because he was the highest graded dual threat, and he was the closest that I found to an 80-80 player on passing and rushing grades from specifically PFF is what I use mostly. I have other places, but my main place is PFF, and the one I trust the most for grades and stuff like that when I'm looking for kind of to prove some of my points. Dampier is a guy who I think is going to be interesting to fit into the Utah offense. We don't know when Kyle Whittingham is going to call it quits, and he was in my top 10 list yesterday, but we don't know when he's going to call it quits. If it is, as rumors are saying, after this season, you couldn't ask for a better guy and a more prolific, dynamic guy at your quarterback position to really take things up a notch. I'm excited for Utah this year. I have a lot of hope that they will be a playoff contender. It'll start at quarterback with Dampier. So that's my list. You heard 1 through 10. Again, Cade Klubnik, my number 1. You've heard everybody I considered. Let me know who I forgot. Let me know who I may be underrating. I'm sure I'll get a handful, and I'll gladly have those conversations again down in the comments section. The comments are not... The comment section, again, is something that's always going to be there. I don't care if you love what I say or hate what I say. It's there so that you guys can interact in whatever way you feel fit. If you really hate what I did or my list, you can hate my list. I'm okay with that. If you love it, let me know. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I thank you so much for taking your time to spend with me today. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Again, comment down below. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you guys on Monday for top 10 running backs.